Good morning and welcome to Naviant's OnBase Solutions Spotlight on the topic of integration for Microsoft Outlook. It's going to be a fast-paced session, so let's jump right on into it. I am your presenter, Guy Schrader. I am Manager of Sales Engineering. Please don't try to ask me any questions through your voice because you are all muted on the GoToMeeting. If you do want to ask a question, please use the chat box or the questions box that appears in the GoToMeeting panel that typically appears on the right side of your screen. And please take a few moments to complete the survey at the end of the GoToMeeting so that we can serve you better and provide us any topics and suggestions for future webinars. So without any further ado, here's our agenda for integration for Microsoft Outlook. As normal, we'll cover what it is, why you might need it. We'll go through a demo. What does it do? We'll do a recap of what all the features and functionality might be. How much does it cost and how do you get it? So let's dive right on into the meat of this. OnBase defines the integration for Microsoft Outlook as allowing an Outlook user to interact with your OnBase content and workflow processes through that familiar Outlook interface. So what we're talking about here is that OnBase is installed as a plug-in to Microsoft Outlook, the full version. So it brings all those OnBase capabilities directly to the inbox, so you can retrieve documents, you can interact with workflow, you can upload messages, so on and so forth. It also provides for multiple methods of getting your emails, your attachments into OnBase and stored as documents. And one of those capabilities is a drag and drop feature to a configured Outlook folder, which will allow you to automatically index that mail message and the attachments with Outlook fields that happen to be on every single mail message that are out there. So just to show that, the drag and drop functionality, we can take this last message from Sam Hastings, drop it into the general HR email folder, and that's going to automatically index the document for us and bring us into an indexing area. Here in the panel that appears on the right side for the import document, you can see that the document type has been set to an email message. You can see that the name keyword has already been populated with Sam Hastings, which is the from name that appears on that message. And if we scroll down a little bit further, there's a bunch of other keywords that are prefixed with mail that can automatically be mapped up to any of the Outlook metadata: to, from, subject, date, attachment name, message ID, so on and so forth. So those would have to be enabled for the document type that we're indexing to. So that's our automated indexing component that we're seeing. Users can also retrieve their OnBase documents directly through that Outlook interface in a Unity client look and feel, which really increases that adoption of the usage of OnBase because it's very simple for users to understand how to use that particular product. So just to show, excuse me, to show that quite quickly here, you can see here now within the OnBase tab that we have the ability to retrieve documents. If I click on that document and retrieval, it's going to automatically bring me into a Unity looking screen where I have my document types in the upper left-hand corner. Once I select a doc type, I have my keywords, perform my search, I have my hit list in the upper right-hand corner with the integrated viewer into the document that is actually selected here. So it really is a full OnBase client here. You also have the capabilities of invoking custom queries that you might have developed, get into your file cabinets that are configured, get into workflow. Frankly, this can be a primary workflow interface for a lot of your users, as well as creating forms, e-forms that you might have that start a process, or uploading a document from file. It's something that you have on your hard drive that you need to get in. So it's not just Outlook. You can now upload things from file. So this is now available for Outlook 2007, 2010, as well as 2013. Those are all separate modules based upon the specific version. And there is also a legacy version of the integration for Outlook 2003 and prior, but it is very limited in its capabilities in comparison to what you're going to be seeing within the demo. So why do you need it? Some of the key benefits is that you can now link your emails directly to the business transactions that you have going through the process. It's important to increase that visibility because think about it. If you have a message sitting in your inbox, only you have visibility to it. Once you put something into OnBase, all those users that for that document type have rights to it, they can now see that particular document. So you need to increase that visibility. Eliminate different silos of data. So get rid of a lot of those storage redundancies. Once it's into OnBase, you know what, archive it from Outlook. You don't really need it there because you can retrieve it within OnBase. Reduce those business cycle times by getting those documents in early in the process, right when they're received, speeding up all those business transactions. And we can automate that import and indexing of the emails and attachments, as you'll see within the demonstration here. Make it easy for your users to utilize this. You don't want to make it difficult for them to store their emails and attachments, otherwise they're not going to use it. So I think OnBase has done a very good job making this simple to use, nicely integrated with the Outlook product. So bringing your OnBase interaction directly to the Outlook, as well as your workflow interaction within Outlook. So with that, let's dive into a demonstration here. Switch here to a virtual machine. So I'm using Outlook 2013. Very similar in many ways to Outlook 2010 or 2007. Hopefully you understand here. Here's all my messages in my inbox. Here's my different folders. But first off, let's take this message that came in from Sam Hastings. I'll just open that up. You can see that there's a message here. There's also an attachment, which is his resume. Great. I want to capture his resume. I'm a recruiter, and I see these resumes all day long. So what I can do is I can create a folder for resumes. This guy's a developer, so let me just go ahead and drag and drop that message into the development folder. And you can see here it's uploading that document, and you get a verification that the file's been uploaded, and it automatically goes away. That document, because I've configured this folder to say take the attachment only, archive it as a resume, and inherit the keywords from the Outlook metadata, has now been archived into OnBase. I can do a document retrieval directly from here, so I can come in and take a look at that human resources resume. That was for Sam Hastings. So I can search for that like I do anything else in the system. There's my resume for Sam Hastings. Open up my integrated viewer. There's my resume for my developer that I have right-click capabilities to view the keywords, so we can see how this is ultimately indexed. The name, that came from the from field. The department, development, that was mapped as a static value within this particular folder. Mail from, mail to, mail subject, all are inherited from the mail message itself, as well as date, attachment name, attachment count, the message ID, so on and so forth. So that's how easily we can get the documents into the system. And just to show you through the document history, you can see I brought this in just a few moments ago. It's been archived into the system automatically. So let's take a look at something else. Let's go ahead and configure this general HR email folder, because I can natively create folders within Outlook like you normally can, but with the plugin installed, you can get into this folder configuration. Come in here and you're walking through a wizard saying, do I want to archive the message? Do I want to archive the attachment? What do I want to do with the message? In my case, I'm going to move the message to a different folder. And you can see it builds the whole wizard down here. When messages arrive in this folder, I archive the message to what document type. I can click on that, and now I'm interacting with the OnBase document types and keywords. I want that to go to HR, email message. And now I'm presented with all the different keywords. I want to take the name and map that to the from name, the display name that appears on the message, so that I don't have to provide that every single time, because I want to go back to that mail message. What department? You know what? That might change, so I'm going to go ahead and prompt the user for data entry on this particular case. I'm the manager, so that's always a static value, so let me go ahead and key that in as Guy Schrader so that I never have to provide that. But then you can see all of my other mail prefixed keywords, the to, the from, the subject, the attachment name, the message ID. Those are all keywords that are associated with my email message document type, that those will inherit those Outlook metadata components. How do I want to store this message? In this particular case, it's converting to HTML. But some of my other options here is to go ahead and store the message in native MSG format, which will require the use of Microsoft Outlook to open that message from OnBase in the future. It truly does store it in .msg format and can bring in all of the attachments under a single entity. we also can store it as an MSG with the attachments being separated. In the case of the native, we're storing the email message as HTML, and then every single attachment would be a separate document type. You can click OK on that, and let me follow through on this relatively quickly. The attachments, I want to go into HR, email attachments, and frankly, if I left all of this blank, it would inherit the keywords from the first document to automatically populate the second document. But just for fun here, let me go ahead and prompt for that department again. That's going to require manual data entry. Click OK. When the message has been processed by OnBase, I want to move it. This is now all of my different folders that are here. I could move that into my deleted items, but I want to put that into my OnBase backup here, just so I know exactly what all went into OnBase, and I can manage that separately at a later point in time. Save that. That folder's ready to use. So I can go ahead and take this first, this message, the referral from my friend, where you can see this is Tim Smith. He's one of our account executives, but I really want to capture the message from Cindy Smith as well as the attachment with his LinkedIn profile and store those as separate documents in OnBase. So I can drag and drop it, and you can see what's going to happen here is it automatically opens up that message. Now I'm looking at the message, because like I mentioned before, the message and the attachments are going to be handled separately. The message has been mapped to my email message. The name, Cindy Smith, has been automatically populated in my name keyword. I'm prompted for my department, Tim's in sales. My name appears there automatically, as well as all of the rest of the Outlook metadata being mapped into my OnBase keywords. I can upload that message. Now it's prompting me for the attachment. But again, everything's been pre-populated for me. My department, sales, my manager, guy, came from Cindy Smith. So again, this is kind of a redundant step. I just wanted to show you that you handle the two documents separately. So that's great. That now processed that message, and it moved it into my OnBase backup. There's my Cindy Smith email. So that document now exists within OnBase. Now there might be some situations where maybe you're a user that gets a variety of different emails. Could be one of a number of different document types. In that particular case, you don't want to use a drag and drop folder. Instead, you want to use the upload option. So either with the message selected, I can click on upload here, or if I open up that message, notice I have an upload button here also, which that allows me to handle manually the email and the attachments and make the determination now what document type this needs to be. In this case, I don't care about the message. Again, the message is always prompting me first, so I have the ability to skip that. But now I'm looking at the attachment that I can go ahead and index that as an I-9 form, and I'm prompted with the keywords that are associated with the I-9 form, but any autofill keyword sets that I have, any drop-down data sets that I have, all extend here where I can just tab off that. Now my autofill executes against my HRIS system, populates my name, my department, my job title, and manager, so on and so forth, to, again, make it easy to index these documents. Again, I get your file has been uploaded successfully. Now that message can be handled natively. It's still sitting within my inbox here because there is another option here within File, Outlook Integration Configuration. I would just want to highlight here when I process upload a message, what do I want to do with it? Currently it's set keep the messages in the same folder, but I can say, you know what, move this to my OnBase backup again, or my deleted items. Now from this point forward, every single message would go into my OnBase backup. But there's a bunch of other things that can be configured here if you choose to change things. Now, going a little bit different of a route here, if you have workflow, you're probably well aware that you can send workflow notifications to your users to inform them that there's work that's ready for them to process. So here's a workflow notification that was set up, but with the Outlook integration piece, you can set up that notification to automatically enable the workflow task pane. What this does is now it takes the ability for me to interact as an approver with this document that's been routed to me directly from the Outlook message. I can click on that, and what happens is it brings up all of the workflow tasks that are associated with the location where this document currently sits, the queue. It also allows me to retrieve the primary document. So by clicking on that, it's bringing back the invoice that I need to review to go ahead and approve. I can view that. If there were any other related documents, they would appear here. So if it was a PO-based invoice, like the purchase order, the packing slip, so on and so forth. But simply I can come in here and say, you know what, I approve this. And my workflow is configured to prompt the user for GL coding information. So you can see that you can do more than just send those notifications now. You can also get GL coding, get further feedback from the user at this point in time. And now that I've processed that, two things happen. My workflow task pane goes away because I can't process that a second time from the same queue. This document has moved on to a different person into a different queue. But it also can update the email message itself and provide us with an explanation of what happened today and now, saying that we approved this, so that you have a little bit of an audit trail sitting in your inbox knowing what actually took place. So that's your workflow interaction that now extends into Microsoft Outlook. Now, one other thing that I want to point out. OnBase has always had the ability to retrieve a document, right-click on it, and say, send this to a mail recipient. It's great. It's a fabulous functionality. It does not require Outlook integration. But what happens if you happen to start opening up an email and you start typing that email and you say, oh, shoot, I wanted to attach this document from OnBase. It gets a little more complicated because you no longer can do that send to mail recipient. That's going to open up another message. It's harder. Notice you have an attach from OnBase that's now enabled as part of this Outlook plugin, where I can come in here and say, you know what, I want to go ahead and grab this packing slip because that's what we're talking about. It's related to PO number 797. Find that. Here's my hit list that I can take that packing slip and say, hey, attach it from OnBase, converts it appropriately, attaches that message. We are now ready to go ahead and send that message. So another nice added feature and functionality to the Outlook integration. Now, switching gears a little bit. Moving more into the retrieving documents directly from Microsoft Outlook, going through some of these different things. We talked about the document retrieval already, but we do have the custom queries that are available to you. So based upon your permissions, what custom queries are out here? This just happens to be your AP document search that I can come in here and take a look at that same packing slip that I just sent a moment ago. So I can retrieve documents that way. And again, just to show you my document history on this one, you can see that I mailed this document just a few moments ago. So all of the document history is updated appropriately. Your file cabinets are extended here also, where if you have file cabinets configured, where maybe you have an employee filing cabinet, I'm going to take a look at Jane Harper's documents and folders. Again, this is native OnBase capabilities, but here's that I-9 form that we imported just a few moments ago, again showing you that document history. I created this about 5 minutes ago. You can get into your workflow configuration. I'm sorry, not your workflow configuration, your workflow user interface. That based upon your permissions, here's all of your life cycles, all of your queues that you have rights to. I'll expand the screen. By the way, you can drag this onto other monitors if you have multiple monitors. But in this particular case, I can go ahead and say, you know what, my primary job here is to index these invoices, come in here, make the determination for whether it's a PO-based invoice or not. This one's going to IT. It's $959. This is all workflow configuration. But I just wanted to show you that you can go ahead and interact with that user interface with the Unity look and feel, quite simply, where that document's now progressed downstream based upon my workflow rules. Okay, so just a couple other things to show relatively quickly here. You can create forms. If you have e-forms out there to start a process, you can go ahead and fire those off. For example, this benefit change request. This is a Unity form that pops up. Can invoke an autofill keyword set. We can have multiple tabs here where maybe this individual just wants to talk about 401k changes, 5% of their earnings. You want everything in stock, even to the point where they can sign these documents. And I'm not very good with the mouse, but if you had a signature pad, that could actually work also, where I can save that signature, submit that e-form. That starts a whole workflow process. Again, now invoked directly from Microsoft Outlook. And I can also upload from file. If I have something on my hard drive that I need to upload, Again, without this Outlook integration, you'd have to open up open up the full client for OnBase in some form or fashion and import this. Given I can launch that directly from Outlook, navigate my hard drive, find that particular file, bring up the view of that. I'm not going to follow through on this, but I think you get the idea that we now have a variety of different capabilities that even extend beyond native Microsoft Outlook capabilities. So let's finish up the presentation here. So what does it do? Again, just to recap here, you're able to import your emails and your attachments either via that drag and drop capability to a folder that you configure, which by doing that you can have the system automatically determine the document type based upon that folder. You can map your Outlook metadata to OnBase keywords so that you can start doing that automated indexing. Or you could import that message either through the import button that appears on the message or on the ribbon bar. Again, you're going to be prompted for the document type, and you'll have to provide all the keyword information. But your autofills do extend along with that so that you can key in a single value, and that autofill populates everything else. You can retrieve your documents stored in OnBase via custom queries, document retrieval, file cabinets. Showed you all that. I didn't show you envelopes, but if you use envelopes, those are also accessible through that. You can create new documents through OnBase Forms, your eForms, as well as upload from files. So there's a lot of capabilities built into the single product. So you have all your workflow interactions also. You can either click on the workflow button within the ribbon bar to take you into that workflow interface, or you can receive your workflow notifications that include that workflow task pane button, where now directly within the email message itself you can take the appropriate actions to approve, deny, or whatever is configured for your workflow. Just want to highlight deployment relatively quickly here. This is a plugin for Microsoft Outlook, so it does require a local installation here, but that can be done through Microsoft Click Once deployments. What that means is that somebody in IT can put together a deployment package, put that up on the network or on a web server somewhere, get that installed on all of your client workstations. The beauty is that in the future, when there's an upgrade, that person in IT just has to replace that deployment package. Every time that you invoke the Outlook plugin, when you launch Outlook, it's going to go ahead and check to see if there's a new deployment package. So it's very, very simple and easy to go ahead and get upgrades out to your users. So how much does it cost? So the $5,000 module per Outlook version. As I mentioned before, there are separate modules for 2007, 2010, and 2013. Microsoft had decided that they're changing the way that they allow third parties to integrate and plug into their different versions of Outlook. So OnBase had to develop 3 separate versions, hence they have to maintain 3 separate versions, hence the reason why it's 3 separate modules. As I mentioned before, there is integration for Outlook 2003 if you're still using it, but there is limited functionality to that. It is much more basic than what I showed you. So you also have to worry about your other OnBase licenses, such as your client licenses. You still need to have concurrent or named users, whatever the case may be, as well as your workflow client licenses if you're enabling workflow interaction. And just really quickly, a related product, subscription server. It's related because we're dealing with email, but subscription server is set up on your Exchange server where a specific mailbox is being monitored by the subscription server. Everything that comes into that mailbox that meets specific rules is archived in OnBase automatically. Completely unattended, the user has no interaction with that particular mailbox. So think invoices at your domain name. Anything coming into that mailbox automatically go into OnBase, and then that typically kicks off a workflow. Wanted to just mention that as a related module. So how do you get it? Contact your Naviant account executive as normal. They'll be able to provide you with estimates for implementation. So that leaves some time for questions. So a few things here that are popping up in questions. Are we recording this? Yes, we are. This will be up on our YouTube channel very shortly after completion of this. Are there instructions pertaining to the configuration of the folders? Yes, there's a whole modular reference guide that's associated with this that can be viewed. That's up on the OnBase communities. Feel free to even download that today, but it's very simple to configure these different folders. When a new version of Outlook is released, how does OnBase, what's the development cycle for OnBase to get that developed? Typically what happens, and we all know that Microsoft comes out with new products, when something like that is released, OnBase will build the integration for that in the next major release of OnBase. So if something came out today, since we're OnBase 13 is the current major version, probably it would be available in OnBase 14 or a service pack thereafter. So OnBase does a very good job at staying up with all the new versions that are actually out there. With that, I think that concludes our questions that we have. Again, there's much more information that's available on these modules, but I hope that you found this beneficial. Just a plug for some other upcoming events hosted by Naviant. Our executive breakfast is going on the road to Des Moines, Minneapolis, and Milwaukee, as you can see with some May dates there. And that session is going to be on best-in-class practices for accounts payable automation. It's a 90-minute breakfast webinar, so please join us for some breakfast and 90 minutes of enlightenment on the subject of accounts payable automation. The next Naviant support webinar is going to be on May 21st, and that's relating to automation with OnBase, all the different ways that you can automate the ingestion of documents into your OnBase system. And always the plug for our Naviant ECM Leadership Summit. If you haven't been to one of those yet, highly regarded by all of our customers. Save the date for October 13th and 14th of this year. That's going to be at the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee. With that, I know that we're just a couple minutes over, but thank you so much for taking the time today. I hope that you found benefit in this. And again, the reminder to please complete the survey at the completion of this GoToMeeting. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.